Hello everyone, and I am finally back with a NHL video. I hope your summers have been well so far since the Florida Panthers won the Stanley Cup when we last spoke about the NHL. 2 weeks ago, we saw free agency open up for the 2025-26 season, and most deals usually occur on July 1st, but other deals fall on other days. We see a lot of restricted free agents get signed the days after, but there's also some UFAs just also lingering around, and some making family decisions and stuff on the lines of that. And it is the middle of July now. I was traveling at the start of July, so did have to move some videos around and scrap some stuff respectively. But now we get to talk about some NHL, which I'm excited to do that. And we're gonna look back at free agency, and in this video, I will be putting together my top 10 signings so far. And this is going to be pretty clear cut, as I'm going to go from 10 to 1, and then afterwards we'll look at some players that are still on the market, and then my ratings will be based on how good the value is of the contract, what the role is going to be on the team, and obviously their statistics are also going to come into an effect as well. I'm also trying things a little different this time around with the camera angle, since I do like to keep some notes so I can look back at them, and now I won't really have to look other ways for my notes, and it's going to be pretty much in front of me, so we can keep more of the attention right here. And then a reminder that these are respectfully my opinions and thoughts. You can come up with your own respectively too, and I would love to have some discussions with y'all in the comments about NHL, because that has been like my most fun interactions on the channel, and you can tell me what you think as well. So other than that, let's head right into the fun. Beginning with 10th, we have Connor Brown going to the New Jersey Devils. So New Jersey did not have a good end to their season, and a lot of that was due to the amount of injuries they had, and a lot of those injuries came to big name players. In this offseason, they did find some bottom six depth, and one of those players ends up being Connor Brown, who was a part of the Edmonton Oilers' deep playoff runs in the past 2 seasons. He had a much better second season with the Edmonton Oilers last season, but he is on the move this time around. The deal is good, as he'll make $3 million per season, which he'll be with the New Jersey Devils for 4 years unless they do trade him, which the length could be a potential problem. But like I said, there is the option to trade him if anything. I project he ends up on the 3rd line, but he can shift up to the 2nd line and potentially drop down to the 4th line with the addition of Dadonov. Also, I made a slight error, so don't mind the odd cropping. I'm going to go with Nate Schmidt going to the Utah Mammoth. The new team name. I did not think that was going to come out of my mouth. Anyways, so Utah ends up adding a new Stanley Cup winner to this team. He was a big-time player for the Florida Panthers in the Stanley Cup playoffs. He's stuck on that 3rd line, and because he was performing so good, he ends up staying in the lineup when Aaron Ekblad ended up coming back from that suspension, and then he got another suspension, obviously. So he managed to be a key factor for the Florida Panthers because of his hard work, and in this deal, he'll be with Utah for 3 years, and then it'll be $3.5 million per season, and he is 33 years old. This deal could be overvalued, but you do have to account he did just win a Stanley Cup, so that value just goes up a little in my opinion. If he can do what he did in the playoffs for Utah for a whole season, they could just sneak into the playoffs, and he'll be working together, it looks like, with Ian Cole, so a good veteran 3rd line defensive pair. We have Ryan Lindgren going to the Seattle Kraken. Last season, we saw the New York Rangers deal Lindgren to the Colorado Avalanche, and things just really didn't pan out. He's a very good defensive defenseman, in my opinion, and will be a factor in helping Seattle's goals allowed go down, which they were tied for 23rd in the NHL with the Montreal Canadiens. He's consistently had a positive plus-minus in his career, so that is a good sign to come. And it could be on the 2nd line, maybe the 3rd line, but I see him more as a 2nd liner for this team, and he'll be a very good penalty killer as well. He is only 27, so he does have plenty more room to grow. He is on a 4-year deal and he will make $4.5 million per season, so I would say the value is good too. Last thing I wanted to talk about that is he could have a potential breakout season if he is paired with Brandon Montour, so something to look out for. Some people may question this one, but I have Brent Burns going to the Colorado Avalanche. And yes, I understand Brent Burns is old. I believe he is 40 years old, but he won't have to be a first liner for the Colorado Avalanche this time around. And he is looking for what could be his last opportunity at a Stanley Cup. And I'm going to compare him to Derrick Henry of the NFL, who, if you keep up with the NFL, he ends up going to the Baltimore Ravens last season and he ends up preserving himself, but he ends up still being himself at the end of the day as he is getting older. And I feel we're looking at something very similar. He'll have less ice time, but that will also allow him to be more effective. And he does have a powerful shot where he would be a good factor on that second power play. The deal is only 1 year and he's only making $1 million. So I am a big fan of this deal. He'll probably jump up and down between the second and third line defensive pair and maybe the first if things go wrong. So we'll see what he can do. I have Andrew Mangiapane going to the Edmonton Oilers. And it feels like every season we always see changes to the Edmonton Oilers in their forward core, like literally every season, where it seems like they're a little unrecognizable. And this time we see Mangiapane return to Alberta, but he is on the other side of the rivalry. I am a big fan of the move, honestly, and he should be able to jump up and down the second and third line and could be a dark horse for the Edmonton Oilers as they look to chase down a Stanley Cup with Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. His numbers have dropped since his 2022 explosion with Calgary. Maybe he could get that swagger back just because he's playing in Alberta. He is 29 years old and he will be on a 2-year deal, which is worth $3.6 million per season. So if this pans out, this could be a great value deal for the Edmonton Oilers. But the problem may be keeping him for 2027, but that's for another time. And if things don't pan out, he also could be trade bait in 2026. I'd fully expect, however, he'll be on the second line and he will be next to Leon Draisaitl. So there could be something big to look out for. We have Corey Perry going to the LA Kings. So he's going back to his stomping grounds for an extent, as he did start his career with the Anaheim Ducks. He is also a veteran that is 40 years old, but he still is making an impact. A former Stanley Cup champion with the Anaheim Ducks and a ton of playoff experience and in the league in general. He'll bring an immediate veteran presence to the locker room and on the ice. It's simply a 1-year deal and he'll be making $2 million this season. And he can move probably literally everywhere around the lineup. And I think he'll be great, as I expect to see him working around the crease on the second power play unit. I think right now he'll be on the fourth line, but we'll just have to see how the Kings do throughout the season, as they have a lot of flexibility to change the pairs up, in my opinion. He's not a fast player, but he does get pucks in the net ultimately, so that could be a good thing for the Kings. And fourth, we have Dmitry Orlov, who is going to the San Jose Sharks. The San Jose Sharks ultimately did not get that first overall pick they were looking to get in the draft lottery. That ended up going to the New York Islanders, who picked up Matthew Schaefer, who they would have loved to have. So they ended up having to sell for Michael Misa. In return, they ended up going out to the market and they ended up picking a veteran and a Stanley Cup winner. Orlov is a very solid defender who can work out on the first and second line. Maybe he'll work out now on the first line and Mario Ferraro can sit on the second line. He can kill penalties, which San Jose did struggle to do, and he has rarely finished with a negative plus minus in his career. I won't lie, that's probably bound to change this year, but you do get some grit and you do get a player that is always consistent, in my opinion. He can become a leader also on this blue line. And I like this deal a lot. It's only 2 years. He'll make $6.5 million per season. And Orlov is currently 33 years old. So maybe the San Jose Sharks won't have a great season again. And maybe they end up drafting a defenseman next year. We'll see how everything goes. In third, you may wonder why this player's in third. And it's more the team's fault than anything. But this one is Vladislav Gavrikov, who is going to the New York Rangers. So they made an overall upgrade to the blue line, but they did also pay the price, losing Keandre Miller, who they felt they needed to deal to the Carolina Hurricanes to save some salary cap. Gavrikov was the number one defender in the market, and he is a big defender. He had one of the best seasons of his career with LA last season. He may not be an offensive defenseman, but he'll be a big-time penalty killer, which will undoubtedly make the Rangers a top 10 penalty killing team. Maybe they'll find the way into the top 5. Notably, he finished with a plus-minus of plus 26 last season. He's 29 years old, and for 7 years, he'll make $7 million. So I do like this deal. And in second, you can argue whether this deal should be third, maybe even fourth. But this one is going to be Mikael Granlund going to the Anaheim Ducks. So the Anaheim Ducks, they end up showing flashes of life last season, but as expected, they couldn't get into the playoffs, and I wouldn't expect them to get into the playoffs again this year. But adding a veteran goal scorer to a team that finished 30th in the NHL in scoring goals will be a solid boost for this team, and they should be more competitive. Granlund started last season for the San Jose Sharks before being traded to the Dallas Stars, and in the playoffs, he was a key player for that team. This deal is also at a very good value, as it's only a 3-year deal, and it's $7 million per season, and he is 33 years old, so I do like how this could pan out. Another thing I wanted to mention is he could play on the first line, he could end up on the second line, he could end up on the third line, so he has a lot of flexibility to jump up and down the lineup. But right now, I'm going to project him more as a second liner right now, as maybe Troy Terry can play on the first line as a right winger. I'm not too sure about Alex Killorn being a first line right winger. No offense, but that's just how I feel, honestly. So we'll see. And in first, which is the big splash, Nikolai Ehlers ends up testing the market. He waits a couple of days to see how things play out, and he ends up going to the Carolina Hurricanes. I love this deal a lot, and it's great value for a 29-year-old with the length being 6 years. It'll make $8.5 million per season. I think this is honestly just really good value in general. I don't have anything negative to say. It's great. He'll have a great opportunity at the first line with the likes of Sebastian Aho and Seth Jarvis, and he will also be a great guy on special teams, as 33% of his points came on the power play last season with the Winnipeg Jets, and this could end up helping Carolina be the best scoring team in the NHL next season. Another thing to note was Ehlers was on pace for the best season of his career. He was a key player for the Jets throughout the regular season as well as the playoffs. And I wouldn't say he's completely elite, but he can absolutely be that first liner, and he could go up and down the lineup with Andrei Svechnikov as well. My last thing to know, I just wanted to list my top 5 unrestricted free agents that are still on the market. We have Matt Grzelcyk, who is a defenseman. Some teams could still use some help on their blue line or make it stronger, so something to look out for. Joel Kivarana ends up being on the market still. Solid goal scorer in the bottom 6. We have Victor Olofsson, pretty much similar. I like Olofsson a little more. I threw in the veteran Max Pacioretty because of his performance in last year's playoffs. And then there's also Jack Roslovic just sitting around, so we may see a couple more splashes here. They're not going to be big splashes at all, but it could help a team a lot, and could be the difference between one making the playoffs and one not making the playoffs. Alright, so that's going to end up doing it for me as I shared my top 10 signings of the NHL offseason. Let me know what y'all think in the comments, whether it's your opinions, thoughts, or maybe even other things. I love to interact with y'all. I should have some more NHL stuff coming up in the future, but I do have to plan it out. So we'll see what I end up coming up with. But other than that, I wish y'all have a great day, great week, and a great rest of y'all's summers. Take care.